Hafa day. My name is Leiana Naholowa'a, and I'm here with Dr. Laura Souder, and we are going to have a wonderful conversation. And I affectionately address you, Auntie Loling is Auntie Loling, right? So that's how I'll be in this session. And I'm really excited to talk about a bunch of things today as it relates to Fino CHamoru. And I think the most pressing subject is the spelling. The orthographic spelling of CHamoru as capital C, capital H, and then AMORU, and how this is currently being discussed in the legislature to make it standardized across all government of Guam agencies, is my understanding, right?
That's correct.
And I was surprised that it's not already done, because you've been talking about this for so long, and I feel like the work that the Commission has been doing has been, encouraging people to spell it. So the fact that it has to be codified in some kind of law is surprising to me.
Well, it's actually in use. It's been in use for decades, right? Because the orthography is not new. It was established in the 60s, and it became known as the 1983 Marianas orthography, which was a joint effort by the NMI and Guahan. And then in 2009, the Marianas orthography took a shift. They decided to change their approach. They engaged the services of a linguist, Dr. Sandra Chung, who has a different approach than Dr. Topping. And the original Marianas orthography was based on Topping's linguistic theory of our language, right? Which was based on the Austronesian, Malayo-Polynesian, Austronesian language chain structures. So the orthography has been around for a long time.
As we know it today.
As we know it today.
It's been around since 1983.
That's correct.
And NMI was with us together in that particular orthography?
Yes, we shared the same orthography.
Are you?
The spelling of CHamoru has always been challenging because there were some proponents of keep the spelling the way we've always spelled it.
All right.
The RRO version.
Okay.
Even though it didn't align with the orthography.
Okay.
Because there are two features of that word, lay, that need to be brought out, right?
Right.
There's no C gifinot CHamoru. There's a te, which is represented by the combined letters C and H in the Roman lettering system.
But even that sound doesn't quite capture the original sound for CHamoru,
which is the tse, which is the tse with the TZE sound.
Yeah, or TS, TZ.
Right. So it's not a church. Yeah. It's a CHamoru.
So we've changed our pronunciation of CHamoru then to cha.
A lot of people have, in accordance with the way that it was spelled and the way it's pronounced in Spanish, which is CHamoru.
With the CH.
CHamoru.
CH.
Yes,
Okay.
the CHAMORRO is CHamoru.
Ah, the double R.
The double R. We don't have the double R gifinot CHamoru.
Spanish people were pronouncing it with the rolled R.
That's right.
But not actual CHamoru people.
That's right. The soft R was still used, and then it's CHamoru. When you speak to first language speakers, they always say CHamoru.
CHamoru.
Right?
With the emphasis on the
U.
Yeah.
Hungan. And so it aligns with the spelling because it's it's an open syllable, which means that it ends with a vowel, and it's preceded by one consonant. It's not atgang syllable. So, according to our rules. So if we were to take the word that describes ourselves and our culture, our language, and CHamoruize it, so to speak, align it with the orthography, then we have to spell it using the letters of our alphabet and the rules of our orthography.
What can we do to preserve pronunciation with the orthography that we have? Because I don't think people know the capital C, the capital H is supposed to sound like a TZ or a TS. And what is the Commission doing to preserve that? Because I feel like this conversation of capital C, capital H, ORU
is kind of remote. It's esoteric.
Yeah, and it's taking us away from what I feel the members of the commission, many are native speakers, or many who have that knowledge or memories of speaking with
First
older generations.
speakers.
When you were young, like, how do we preserve sound?
Lay, the best way to preserve sound is to create a pronunciation guide, which is foundational in the orthography. Because what the orthography does is it creates a spelling canon which aligns with pronunciation. See, that's what a lot of people don't realize, that the orthography is a spelling canon based on spoken Chamorro.
Tell me what a spelling canon is, because
A spelling canon is just a standardized way of spelling words. So,
right.
so for example, in
rules.
English, there are two spelling canons that are attached
British,
to English.
American.
The British, which is Oxford. The Oxford Dictionary is the British pronunciation guide, and then which is also the spelling guide for British English, and then the American English is Merriam-Webster. Spelling is important because it standardizes the way words should be pronounced.
That's what's hard for me, is that the way it's spelled does not equal how it's pronounced. And so as this bill is being discussed, or as government agencies are encouraged to spell it correctly, what kind of guidance are they given to pronounce it correctly? Is there like a phonetic thing attached with it too, or
There could be.
I really feel like there should be.
There could be.
I feel like we're a little obsessed on something
And our
weird.
dictionary, our online dictionary, which is part of our Lista and Palabra on the Commission website, has the pronunciation guide.
Right.
The international pronunciation guide, so that people who have never heard the word can actually pronounce it using that guide. We're also hoping to be able to install in the online dictionary an actual button that pronounces the words. So that's something that we're hoping to be able to do. We do it now with our Lista and Palabra, with the
wordless
Palabra Ha'ani, the Fino Ha'ani online. We distribute that widely through our network, and that has a pronunciation guide for each word. So we're very cognizant of the fact that people who have never heard Chamorro before, including our young children, who have kind of heard it as a sound around them, but have never internalized the sounds that they hear. We're beginning to develop tools, and technology is a great asset in this regard, to be able to help people to hear the word, and how imasanganya ipalabra gof importante. So the way that a word sounds is very, very important, Gifino Chamorro, because of the nuanced meanings of words that are very similar in the way that they may look, but have dramatically different impact in the way that they're being used.
Where the word stresses, or it'll tell you what kind of word it is.
Just take simple words like baba, baba, ba.
Yeah.
B-A-B-A doesn't carry it, There have to be glotas, there have to be ahs to cue the speaker to know what that word means. That's why spelling is so important when you're teaching the language as a second language. A lot of people say, why do we have to change? The thing is change is constant.
Right.
Change is constant. Our language is dynamic. It is very fluid. It constantly changes to adapt to new words, to incorporate new words into our vocabulary, to update the slang. Because there's a lot of rapid speech that's now beginning to be acceptable. For example, nui is ni, and people accept that. So we have to get with the times. The usage of the language determines the kinds of changes that eventually surface in formal documentation.
Writing the capital C, capital H, and people and with audiences that are not used to it, or readers that are not used to it. What's the significance of that capital C and capital H, and why not make it capital C and lowercase h? Like, why is
because the CH is one letter. You wouldn't capitalize half of the first letter of your name.
Right.
Leiana, right?
But I don't know any other example of that, of two letters being one letter in any other language systems. If you can just maybe.
When the first commission,
Right.
when the first Commission Finot Samoro was in existence and grappling with the development of the orthography, they sought the assistance of linguists from the Philippines.
Okay.
And the Filipino linguist suggested combinations of letters or a creation of new letters that would suffice. But that became a hornet's nest. One, because those new letters don't appear on the keyboard
At
of any
all.
typewriter or
Yeah.
now computer.
Yeah.
And then in the consciousness of lettering, which is we learn how to write using the Roman letters, right?
Right.
So that is our consciousness of lettering. We know that lettering system.
But because it's a combination of sounds like TZ, TS, why couldn't it just be CH without having to do like this I think that's what's difficult.
Because one of the rules, the rule of capitalization,
Right.
makapitaliza na ipalabra. Okay, so the first letter of every proper name is capitalized.
Right, right.
Since the first letter of the word CHamoru is CH,
It's a combination of sounds. It's not
but in our alphabet it is one letter.
But is that something that's changeable?
Every combination that they've tried to use has been rejected. So the closest combination, and the one that the school system, teachers, and those who have been teaching Chamorro as a written language have used, the most acceptable has been the CH.
I think in other languages, like when there's like a TZ, I keep going back to the TZ, right?
It's written as TZ.
There's no capital T, capital Z. It's just I don't know what the technical term is for linguistics.
There's no Z Gifinot Chamorro, okay?
Exactly,
so
exactly.
that's another issue, is that we can't rely on some of the letters in the Roman alphabet to represent that sound. And I think that the least amount of change has been to just recognize that C doesn't exist, Gifinot Chamorro. So we start the letter with the sound closest to what we're comfortable with, and that is the tse.
Okay.
And so tse is used just like nge. Nge is an NG,
right?
A combo, one sound
Yeah.
represented by two letters, the NG, because that is the common way that people use the Roman alphabet in spelling English.
But when do words begin with NG?
Hungan.
And then do we capitalize both letters?
If they either begin a sentence.
Wow, I don't know.
So for example, ngonga or ngonga sinatmo.
Yeah.
Ngongas, you would have to capitalize the NG because it's one letter.
Are you doing that in writing?
Yes.
Wow.
We do.
Wow.
And the school children know it.
Wow.
Know it well. See, for people who oppose it, it's because they're not accustomed to writing in Chamorro.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, but children who are learning Chamorro don't have any challenge with that.
They're recognizing the rules.
They recognize the letter, and when you capitalize the letter, so they know to do that. It's not a big thing for people who are writing in Chamorro.
Right, right. I guess it's a big thing. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is just the cohesion of our people wherever they are, right? And here in Guahan, the rule is capital C, capital H. It follows the Guahan orthography, and you're wanting to make this in all the Gov Guam agencies. But then as soon as you step off the island, it's like you're not under those laws, right? And so and wanting to be inclusive, for me at least, living in Oahu, it's like I want to include everybody and who may not follow the Guahan orthography, and the RRO seems to be the most inclusive. Like, what are your thoughts about that? Like, speaking to audiences or readers, when you're outside of here.
Regional dialects are acceptable.
NMI,
you look at Great Britain, you look at the U.S. They spell words differently.
Right.
They're intelligible to each other.
Right.
But when you're in Britain, you spell favor FAVOUR.
Right.
Labor LABOUR, and when you're in the States, it's LABOR and VOR, right?
Should people in the States, which spelling should people follow in your opinion?
It really depends on how they're learning to write Chamorro.
Okay.
If they're learning using our orthography as a guidance and our dictionary as a guidance, then it would be useful to learn it the way our orthography has suggested. If they're using the NMI orthography, then that's perfectly legit. Lei, we have to get over the idea that Chamorro that there has to be total uniformity for all Chamorro speakers and writers of Chamorro.
But
because NMI has its own orthography. And there are two different dialects of Chamorro. One is based on the NMI orthography and one is based on the Hagatnya orthography or the Guahan orthography.
Right.
And that's perfectly legit.
Is there a possible future where we aren't dealing with two different orthographies, that the CNMI and Guahan folks will come together and decide so that it's truly standardized?
That is one of our dreams, is that we can get back together again and have a unified orthography for the sake of the children, so that there's no confusion.
For all our sakes,
yes.
Just so that...
And for the sake of the increasing numbers of Chamorros who are in the diaspora who desperately want to learn Chamorro. But when we speak Chamorro, there's no issue, right? The spoken form of Chamorro is not an issue. The pronunciation of some words may differ depending on the dialect you're using.
We're in a heavy media world, right? Media saturated world.
It's all written.
Where many things are written on flyers, on on event announcements, and it does feel political. How people choose to spell the name of our culture and people.
We have reached out to our counterparts in the NMI to explore ways that we can clarify and come together on different things. We've been jointly working on an online dictionary,
right.
And when there are unique differences in the way that a word is spelled, if we incorporate the NMI version as well in our dictionary.
Right, to give the reader an understanding of how else the alternate spellings.
Yes, it's like the word lemay, okay?
Oh gosh, is it 2 M's or 1?
2 M's for the Chamorro orthography here on Guam, and then 1 M for example, lemay in Luta is pronounced differently.
Okay.
They say lemay.
Gotcha.
We say lemay, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, but it requires a different spelling.
Gotcha.
It's like zuos. We believe that zuos should be recognized in one format no matter where you see it on a printed page. But for example, I was in Mount Carmel Church in Saipan, and they had the Evangelio printed, or projected on the wall in Chamorro, and so I was following through, and there were 3 different ways that Zeus was spelled in one paragraph. For saying it's okay,
yeah.
But for those of us who are interested in making sure that there's continuity of the teaching of our language to the children who are learning it as a second language, it's very important that we standardize so that the kids are not confused.
And it feels like if you were living, and you were sharing earlier before we started the engagement with Chamorros in the diaspora, for lack of a better word, diaspora, anywhere outside of the Marianas where people live. And
Manyasaga Sanhizung.
How do you say it? What's your...
It's Chamorro ni Manyasaga Sanhizung.
Oh, thank you.
They're living outside of our land here.
And when you're in the diaspora, when you're living far away, but still very much wanting to speak Chamorro, teach Chamorro to your kids and whatnot, is there anything Chamorros who are not in the Mariana Islands could do to help with this situation, help advocate for more unity?
The most important thing is for Chamorros to learn how to speak Chamorro.
Right.
Chamorro will continue to survive if we speak it. Okay?
Yes. And
so that is the most important thing. But because spoken language is learned as a second language most often among Chamorro, those with Chamorro heritage, then our belief in the Commission is that we have to provide a standard that can be utilized easily. So we are creating tools. We've digitized and are online relative to everything that we produce so that it can be widely available to Chamorros everywhere, because there are more Chamorros in the United States and elsewhere than there are living in the Marianas.
Yes.
So we have to recognize that we are responsible for making material available to all of our people wherever it is that they are. But I recognize what you're asking about unification. Obviously, that's the ideal. If there was one system, one standard, then we wouldn't have issues related to how shall I spell this. But
what will it take, though, for that unification? Like, I see the historic
it takes the
trajectories that maybe led us
takes
on
the
different
two groups.
paths.
It takes the two groups that have been vested, mandated by law to be responsible for establishing and maintaining the orthography to engage in the change. And at this point, NMI's position is that they're going to keep with the orthography. Our position is, let's talk.
Okay.
And we really are interested in engaging in collaboration. And it just so happened that, with political shifts in NMI, the commission was in hiatus for a couple of years. Now they've established, sort of reappointed members to the commission. So we're reaching out and we will continue this dialogue, okay?
Is it going to take just like a lot of funding to like facilitate the meetings, the coming together?
Because we have technology, we can Zoom.
Oh, that's true.
So
yeah.
we started out with a conference, a summit, a CHamoru Language Summit, Indigenous Language Summit, and we invited a lot of our CNMI counterparts, and they came, and we had great dialogue and explored a lot of issues. And we're hoping to be able to. They were supposed to sponsor the summit that followed a couple years later, but they haven't been able to. So we're looking into trying to sponsor another summit in 2027.
Okay.
That will bring us physically all together to really, explore ways that we can. Create some kind of unity of. We have unity of purpose. There's no question about that.
And we're unified as a people, like with our culture.
We do have to recognize that geopolitically, we've been separated by our colonial histories.
Very much.
So that has done damage to this unity because it has created a planned adversarial relationship, I would say, between the NMI, the Northern Marianas, and Guahan.
Yeah.
But we're all part of the same people, the same culture. Hello? The people who live in the Northern Marianas are our relatives, and the people who live in Guam are the relatives of the people in the Northern Marianas.
I do think their political experience in the CNMI has made them, at least as an observer of someone who grew up in Guahan, I see how much more connected they are to other islands in Micronesia in a way that we're not.
Well, because they were part of the quote-unquote trust territory. So,
yes.
All of that has worked to create divisions. You divide and conquer, and that philosophy has whipped us around and separated us significantly in many ways. So we're working through that, but the more important point is that we all recognize that our language will be in jeopardy, will become extinct if we don't speak it.
How does this, like spelling it the way capital CHORU, how does this prevent that?
Spelling it using a standard, right, which is the whole orthography, allows teachers to teach it consistently to children who are learning it as a second language, to young adults who are learning it as a second language, to people in your age group who are learning it as a second language. You can't learn the language as effectively if you don't know how to spell the words or how words should be spelled.
It's just this one word that's loaded with meaning and
because
and
it's the most
change,
important word in our vocabulary.
Right. And I would love to not have to use a slash anymore. Capital CHAOM.
But that's a good innovative way.
O-R.
That's a good it's a good innovative way.
It really like reminds you of the division, of the separation, when I have to, and then going back to unification, RRO was the unifying spelling, and then there's a split, and I'm just hoping for a return.
RRO is a Spanish word.
But it was it did unify us. We all spelt it that way.
Because we were called that. But our
Right.
people never called themselves that until it became part of the way that the Spanish colonial
Right,
operatives here in
Absolutely.
the islands, use that to call our nativos,
Right.
or to call the indios. But if you look at the historical evolution of the word, CHamoru is a Spanish word. It is a Spanish surname. It also means shorn head.
The part of the
bald
leg,
head.
right? There's all these.
And it's also very popularly referred to beef shank.
Right.
The word CHamoru is beef shank, right?
Right.
When the CH at the beginning of the word is not capitalized, it usually means beef shank. Now,
Talking to Spanish speakers are like,
what
is that word?
one of the things you do as you begin to decolonize, and I think that this is a very important part of the message.
Okay.
Because the Commission is dedicated to nation building. The Commission is dedicated to leading decolonization and to encouraging cultural sovereignty acts. It is an act of cultural sovereignty
To not be beef shank.
to align with our orthography. Right. Because if we're going to respect our orthography,
Yeah.
then we should be able to apply the most important word in our language to that system.
I just
and that is in a nutshell where I stand on this. Okay?
It's an ongoing conversation. We hope CNMI will meet with us, right, at this point.
Yes, definitely. And whether or not they continue to spell CHamoru the way they prefer, and it's okay. It's like,
okay.
some people prefer different pronouns now to identify with, and so they'll make sure that people know what pronouns they want to be called by. So it's when the women's movement
Right.
came into being, I mean, it was no longer, you substituted mankind, you substituted words like humankind or people.
You had me at beef shank. And I'm so grateful that at UH Mano I was able to study with Brant Song Song, who's a native speaker from Luta. And we're like the same generation practically. And it's just inspiring to talk to someone who is a native speaker.
Yes.
And who's interested in the etymology of words and just like a kind of deeper dive and understanding.
And the way that words are arranged in a sentence, for example.
I want to get there one day because I'm just still I feel very much behind. And I was talking to you the other day about wanting to accelerate my learning in Chamorro because I'm dealing with two different indigenous languages right now, Ololo, Hawaii, and Chamorro, and I want to accelerate both. And so your advice around this, considering that my engagement with Chamorro, a lot of it these days is with the Nobena Ladies Prayer Group, but as I am sometimes appointed to be the Tetsa or the Opi, depending on the day, I literally feel like I'm just practicing pronunciation or reading, but I have no idea what I'm reading. And I think that that's been a lot of my experience praying in Chamorro. It gets you into the spirit, but I would like to understand the words one day. And I don't know if I'm going to still pray if I understand the words. Maybe that helps
it's
me.
It's beautiful.
Maybe it helps me because maybe those words might be a little bit...
the largest body of written CHamoru, even though it's not orthographically aligned,
right,
are the novenas, the prayers, and the Santo Biblia, right? The Holy Bible.
Did they preserve
Spanish,
the like really old Chamorro in your opinion? Because I wouldn't know the difference.
A lot of it does. A lot of it does.
Heard.
The metaphors, the use of metaphors in the Chamorro language for first language speakers is phenomenal. And frankly, I've fallen in love with Chamorro all over again. And it's amazing to me that a language that had its roots 6,000 years ago in the original mother tongue that gave birth to all these variations. And then here in the Marianas for 4,000 years, that we continue to speak a form of that language. But we have to understand that the language has evolved consistently and has been able to incorporate, the Chamorro language survives because it is dynamic and is able to incorporate root words from other languages. English is 85% borrowed, right?
Right.
So we've taken a lot of the Spanish words and Chamorroized them. So Spanish speakers cannot understand what we're saying.
That's good.
Like Uncle Sammy does not know what I'm saying when I speak Chamorro, right?
Right.
But he can recognize a word here and there, right? So we're not speaking a bastardized form of Spanish. We're not speaking a Creole form of Spanish. We're speaking Chamorro.
Okay.
With a lot of Spanish
with
borrowed
the grammar
words.
Structures and everything underlying is foundational.
Is foundational to the Austronesian group of languages, right?
Right.
There's no language called Austronesian. Of course, that's a linguistic terminology to cluster languages that are part of the Southeast Asian migration of our languages from the southern tips of what is now Taiwan.
That's the current theory. It keeps changing.
No, that is the prevailing theory, and it's gone into Sulawesi, it's gone into Borneo, it's gone into the Hebrides, and then out into the Pacific, right? So our ancient navigators, our ancestors, were the first to actually make their way to the island Pacific to populate the island. So our language has been around for a very long time. And what connects it with that body of languages is the propensity to affix everything.
Oh, really?
So the affixing is fundamental.
Gosh, it's really hard.
And then the rinipiti
right.
is also, or the repetition of syllables
right.
to change text, to change the tense of the word.
Okay.
If you're talking about
past or present.
Past or present.
Future.
Or the intensity of the word.
Right.
Yes. Like manginginging.
That's common in other regions that are related to our language.
Austronesian, the Austronesian languages
That's fascinating.
have those two features in common: the affixing feature and the repetition feature.
Nice.
So we come by it very, very honestly, but it also helps to connect our language to that that ancient mother tongue, right?
So does mastering the affixing structures and rules and things like that, and practicing the affixing of words, I don't know what the word, how to say it.
That's when you become a sophisticated Chamorro speaker.
Okay. So in terms of like accelerating my learning to at least a reading level.
Yes. That's very important to recognize the root word and then how it's affixed will help you to understand the nuanced difference in meaning.
Right.
So you'll understand that if it has an infix, then it's a past tense, right? Mm-hmm. Past progressive. Those kinds of things.
Okay.
If you see a word that has the infix, then the word has been nominalized, so it may mean that the root word was a verb. Those are very people who just want to speak Chamorro don't need to understand all of that.
Right.
But if you do, you'll be able to read and write in Chamorro.
Okay.
That's the difference. And because oral languages, if they are to survive, have to transition to the literary tradition. Mm-hmm. Orality to literacy is the way that most languages have been able to continue to exist. Mm-hmm. Then it's very important that we learn those things, or that we teach those things when kids are learning the language, because they're learning that in English, which is the primary language they learn in, unless they go to Hurao or Sinipog, right? Yeah. And we hope to grow the number of schools that are taught Gifino Chamorro as the medium of instruction. And we're making headway. We now have 2 schools that are Chamorro medium schools. That's big,
Right. No, that's it's exciting, because I grew up with my dad working in Saipan, and when I would go visit, there'd be young kids my age who are speaking fluent Chamorro, and you feel that shame as a Guahan Chamorro for not being able to speak the way they speak like my
but
grandparents,
they were learning it as their first language.
Right,
So when you learn it as a spoken language, as your first language,
right,
it's the features, knowing what to do, knowing how to affix. You may not even know that you're affixing, but you just affix because that's the way you learn the language.
Right.
So our first language speakers, who are generally very old in our community,
naturally.
Absolutely. But if you ask them, "Taimanuma affix este" or "Taimanuma totsi este," they're not going to know what you're talking about because they internalize the language as their first language and automatically learned how to make those adjustments.
How can we internalize it? How can others, as second language learners, struggling a little bit with reading material, and there's a lot of children's literature now published in Chamorro, but like our Nobena prayer books, all the different Nobenas we do, are they good resources for practicing, studying, learning the language? And you've shared with me that a place I could start is converting it to the orthography.
Yes.
Like can you say a little bit about that?
That's one of the ways. I'm the Tetsa for the Nobena and Santa Maria
Yes, of course.
And when I first had to recite the Nobena,
oh gosh,
it was just I was so traumatized. This was like 30 years ago. Okay,
you couldn't read it, or what traumatized you?
I kept tripping over the words because it was the old Nobena. Polly wrote all of these Nobenas and prayers in Chamorro using the Spanish orthography.
Gotcha.
Okay, and many Nobena books are in that format still, right? So when you read the Nobena, sometimes the sentence doesn't end for a page, right? There's no punctuation. So that was my first challenge. Where do I punctuate?
Oh goodness.
Where do I end a sentence? Then the other aspect of this was that the words weren't recognizable to me because they used letters that are commonly used
strange,
español. So one of the priests and I went through the Nobena and converted it to the orthography as he knew it, because I didn't know the orthography at the time.
Okay.
So as he knew it, and it made it much easier for me to pronounce. Then a few years ago, my study group, during COVID, we created study groups, right? So one of my study groups from the academy and I went through the Nobena and we aligned it with the orthography as part of our exercise of learning how to read and write Kifinut Chamorro. And once I started doing that and slowly pronounced the words, right? Because that's how I used to. Everybody came up to me at the end of the Nobena and said, "Thank you for reciting the Nobena slowly, because now I finally understand what is being said." And then other people, as I distribute the orthographically aligned versions,
right,
they say, "I can read now."
Oh.
And that really made me understand in a very practical, down-to-earth way how significant the orthography could be for learning Chamorro.
Okay.
Because they're reading Chamorro, and we don't know how to read our language.
Right.
And we need to learn how to write our language in order to read it, right? And so that gave me a tremendous appreciation for the significance of the orthography. And I've become a total proponent of the orthography ever since, because it made it easier for people to read and understand what they were reading. Now, you've asked the question.
Rather than teaching them the Spanish system, which a geeky Chamorro studies or Chamorro language person can learn as well, to understand when seeing Spanish or orthographic writing, to know the pronunciation. But we're not all going to go learn that. No. So it's like you might as well get on one system.
And
right?
For example, the difference between a and a. If you use the lonat a, then you know that letter is pronounced with an a sound.
Right.
And if it doesn't have the lonat, it's the a.
Right. What trips me up these days, because I'm more familiar now with the lonat, but the other accents that I don't.
Okay, so there's the lonat, which is part of the letter a. It's never used any other time, but as part of the letter a.
Right.
There is the For example, the CH combo is the tse.
Right.
The nye is the NG combo, right? And then there's the nye, which has the titda.
It's the, I don't know. I know it in French, like the accent.
The little squiggly.
No, the arrow, the little above like the E or the I that's pointing either to the right or to the left.
That is called the atgang.
Atgang.
No, it's only one. We only use one atgang.
Okay.
Which is that little diacritical mark, that little
above a vowel.
Above a vowel. Only above a vowel. You never use the atgang above a consonant. So it tells you where to raise the sound.
Okay.
Which
syllable? Gives that syllable stress.
It gives the syllable stress when it's not.
I thought it's a change of the sound of that vowel.
No.
Okay.
It's the loudest syllable. It's the loudest syllable in the word.
Okay.
Now, if it's in the penultimate position, which is the second to the last syllable, then you don't need to use the atgang because that's the standard.
The rule is you do give stress to the penultimate. The second to last.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, and then of course
when it's not in that position, it needs.
That's when you use the atgang. That's the only time you use it.
Okay. I thought it made the E sound like a different E or something.
No. It's just the loudest syllable. Okay. For example, if you're going to go fishing.
Okay.
Egwihan. That's where you put the atgang in CHamoru counting, it's in the last.
Is there
syllable.
a glotta between?
Yes, there's a glotta. So don't confuse the glotta.
That's confusing though, because if I see the glotta as kind of stress sometimes,
No,
I guess
the glotta is not a stress.
It's a pause.
The glotta is a consonant. It's the first consonant in the Chamorro alphabet.
But it's more of like a glottal stop, right?
It's a glottal sound.
Yeah.
So, and it can only be paired with a vowel.
Okay.
The glotta always follows a vowel, cannot follow a consonant.
Good rule to know, because I don't think about these things.
Yeah. It cannot follow. So see, that's what the orthography does, and helpful hints in the orthography we've tried to work in to the newest iteration of the orthography. We reclustered the rules so that all the vowel rules are together, all the consonant rules are together, all the pronoun rules are together, all the affixing rules are together.
Right.
We didn't change the orthography. We just clustered the orthography so that rules that are similar can be learned together.
I mean, you talked a little bit about this with the Bigateta for Santa Maria and Kremlin, and it's a whole other conversation for another day, and maybe with someone else. But
how to learn the meaning of words?
No, I think that the pace that touches speak being super fast is super interesting to me, and your experience of slowing it down where people can finally understand it, but just thinking about the way prayers can be hints or remnants of pre-colonial Chamorro ways of chanting or praying. It makes me wonder if that speed, is important to our indigenous ways of,
until recently.
Yeah.
Most Tetsas learn novenas by rote memory.
Right.
They did not read the novenas, even if they were holding the novenas before them.
But the listeners should know what they're saying, right?
But when you rote memorize something, for some reason you are able to
really
speed
fast.
it up. Because I memorize certain parts of the novena, right?
You accelerate it.
So I accelerate, and then I'll have someone from like Lulu Dueña. Sometimes she'll say, "Lo, you're on fast speed," because
it comes so naturally,
and so that I'm just because I know it,
and
I'm not conscious that my role is to lead prayer, right?
Right.
And when you lead prayer, you have to slow down so that people can catch up with you.
Make sure you don't leave them behind, right?
Right.
But I think that's like culturally that fast pace was transformational or something. There's something about the speed, the tempo. I don't know. So I think it's a whole other like.
But when you understand it, it has that kind of effect, right?
Right.
Like chanting.
Right.
The chanter starts slow and then you start speeding it up.
Right.
But if you don't understand it, you get totally lost in the process. And so, for example,
for me, I'm just meditating at that point.
I would listen to novenas being recited without having a clue
I think
what they meant. And
isn't that most people, or when it's super fast?
So then when you slow down and people can read with you, my God, this is so beautiful, and you begin to appreciate the wealth of knowledge that's encapsulated in that written statement. So my advice to you, for example, who want to understand the meaning of what you're reading when you read novenas, one of the easiest ways of expanding your vocabulary is just to study the dictionary.
Right.
It's just go through the dictionary. Go through 10, 15 words a day and learn them, learn their meaning, learn how to say them. Call your mom and say, Mom, I've learned these 10 words today. Call me and just, how would you use this in a sentence? Remember that the dictionary has examples of how you would use the word in a sentence. Almost unconsciously, you're going to begin to recognize a structure, but you're going to have to hear yourself say those sentences and pronounce those words properly. And that's why the orthography, again, is so important, because it's also a pronunciation guide.
It's a good conversation. I hope it's ongoing, because I think that self-studying in the way you've said takes a lot of discipline and commitment and focus. And I hope it goes well for me this year, but I think that most people work well in groups or pairs or whatnot. So maybe that's something that the commission or other, there's already lots, Maguette is doing such great work with his free online classes. And then people are creating more groups, more study
the
groups.
The YMLG is really eagerly engaged, and we're trying to partner with them. They want to create these apprenticeships between master speakers and eager learners.
Right.
So that there's opportunity for conversation.
Yeah.
The first and most important thing to do if you care about CHamoru is to learn how to speak it.
Gotcha.
Because when we speak our language, it will not die. And then the writing and the reading is a way of making that happen for second language learners.
We'll just keep going on, right? I don't know.
Keep going on. Absolutely.
This is Masi.
Hago mas.